And I'm happy to say that today and throughout the rest of this weekend, the Declaration of Independence will be read in every county of the state of Texas. And in case you didn't know, that's 254 counties.
Yay!
Welcome today, and we're going to start out first by saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Would you all please stand and pledge with me? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, in prior years, you all had to suffer with me singing the national anthem, but we've got a real treat today. The Athens High School Show Choir is now going to sing the national anthem. Wasn't that wonderful? Let's give them another hand. And we're going to be lucky to hear another number for them at the end. While danger was gathering round New York and its inhabitants were in mute suspense and fearful anticipation, the General Congress at Philadelphia was discussing with closed doors what John Adams pronounced the greatest question ever debated in America, and as great as ever was or will be debated among men. The result was a resolution passed unanimously on the 2nd of July that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states. The 2nd of July, adds the same patriot statesman, will be the most memorable epoch in the history of America. I'm apt to believe that it will be celebrated by succeeding generations as the great anniversary festival. It ought to be commemorated as the Day of Deliverance by solemn acts of devotion to Almighty God. It ought to be solemnized with pomp and parade, with shows, games, sports, guns, bells, bonfires, and illuminations from one end of this continent to the other, from this time forth forevermore. The glorious event has indeed given rise to an annual jubilee, but not on the day designated by John Adams. The 4th of July is the day of national rejoicing. For on that day, the Declaration of Independence, that solemn and sublime document, was adopted. Tradition gives a dramatic effect to its announcement. It was known to be under discussion, but the closed doors of Congress excluded the populace. They awaited in throngs at an appointed signal. In the steeple of the State House was a bell imported 23 years previously from London by the Provincial Assembly of Pennsylvania. It bore the portentous text from the Scripture: proclaim liberty throughout all the land and to the inhabitants thereof. A joyous peal from that bell gave notice that the bill had been passed. Today, 240 years later, we celebrate the independence of our nation, and we are proud to read to you the words which changed the world. Our readers today are prominent attorneys from Henderson County who have volunteered to read this document as it was read to the populace in the American colonies 240 years ago. Our first reader is Dan Hunt. Dan is new to the county and is serving the citizens of the county as Assistant District Attorney. Our second reader is Amber Slayton. Amber also is an Assistant District Attorney, but serves the citizens of this county as the primary prosecutor of child protective cases. Mary Ann Warren is our third reader. Mary Ann Warren has been in private practice for over 20 years in Henderson County and has a very active practice in family law and criminal defense. Our fourth reader is Steve Green. Steve has a very busy criminal defense practice here in Henderson County and also serves as Athens Municipal Judge. Our fifth reader is Linda Altier. Linda has been an attorney for 25 years and has represented clients in high-profile criminal cases in Smith and Titus County. She now works in Henderson County primarily. She is a graduate at Texas Tech. Jeffrey Arian is our sixth reader. He has a very active general practice in Henderson County and has been the treasurer of the Henderson County Bar Association for many years and will continue in that post for some time to come, God willing. Our seventh reader is Justin Weiner. Justin is the current president of the Henderson County Bar and recently left the district attorney's office to enter private practice with Mike Head. The final paragraph of the declaration is printed on the back of the program. When Justin reaches that point, we invite you to read the inspiring words with him. Without further ado, I give you the Declaration of Independence.
In Congress, July 4th, 1776, unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to their separation, We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
Amen.
Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good.
He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them.
Amen.
He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within.
He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of land. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has affected to render the military independent of said and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states.
for cutting off trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in the neighboring province, established therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments, for suspending our own legislators and declaring themselves invested with the power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burned our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, dissolution, and tyranny already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation.
Amen.
He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections among us, and has endeavored to bring out on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in our attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity. We have conjured them by the ties of our comrade kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence.
They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends. Please join with us now as we read together.
We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of intentions due in the name by the authority
of the good people of
these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states,
full power to levy
war,
conclude peace,
contract alliances,
establish commerce,
don't mess with
and to
me,
do all other acts and things which independent states
may of right do, and for the support of this declaration,
with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other
our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. God bless America.
Mama, can you take me home?
We're
That was wonderful. Thank you all for your participation. And now, as an extra added bonus, I'm going to mess up the mic. We have the Athens Show Choir to sing us out of here with a great patriotic medley, and it's called United We Stand.
okay. Come on. What do you-
United we stand. United we stand. United we stand.
Hold this. Hold this. Can't hear 'em. United we stand. United we stand. United we
Thank you all for coming. And those of you who have ordered food from the barbecue